Recording. Wonderful. Hello, ladies. Welcome to joining my little room. I'm going to make this bigger. Fantastic. Nice to see you all. So whenever you're doing your treatments, always make sure that you have removed any jewelry that you may have, because if you're touching clients, jewelry harbors bacteria, and the same as removing clients' jewelry as well. So when I am assessing you on these Zoom sessions, I will be looking out for making sure that your hair is up and making sure that you, because I don't want you to make sure everyone's coming in. Fantastic, you're all in the room. Brilliant. So when you are starting off your treatments, we always make sure that our hands are clean. Before we start our clients, we make sure that we have washed our hands. Make sure your clients have washed their hands as well when they do first arrive. Really, really important. Make sure, I was just saying before you guys jumped in, I tend to wear my little gold bangle all the time, and my moonstone ring. It's just something I always do, and I usually get my wedding ring on as well. But when we're doing treatments, we can't wear jewelry. It's quite simple, like we just can't wear it. It harbors bacteria, it's unhygienic, it's not professional, no jewelry, okay? Really, really important. And also making sure that our hair is tied back, that we have good hygiene practices, and that we look the part, essentially. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate a manicure on my little hand here. Okay, I couldn't organize a real model for today, unfortunately, but that's okay. We'll just work with the hands that we've got here. Hopefully I can get a real human arm that I can demonstrate on next week. I might see how we go. All right, so first thing we do, we make sure that our hands are nice and clean. So I actually have a spray on, antibacterial spray. I mean, there's professional versions of this, but they all do the same thing. This one is just the koi version of, I quite like it. It smells quite nice as well. Kills 99% of germs, and I just give my client a little spray over. I turn their hand over and I do the same on the inside as well. All right, just a nice little thing, even though our clients have already cleaned their hands, and I usually give myself a little spray over as well. Something I do, always rub it around your wrists as well. Okay, so you should all know how to effectively wash your hands. I hope that that's something that you're all in good practice with doing now. I mean, I know through COVID that we all got really into washing our hands and better hygiene practices, so I don't think it's been a bad thing. All right, the next thing that we're going to be doing is taking off our polish remover. So I quite like these handy little pumps that I can decant. I can buy 5-litre bottles of, or 1-litre bottles of nail polish remover, and I can actually decant them into these little containers, which you can buy from any beauty wholesaler, and they're really nice and easy. So, and with your, and I use cotton rounds, you can use cotton balls, you can use swabs, you can do whatever you like, but I remove polish first. So I just pump down, pop the product on, and then I go on, and to remove our polish is I hold it down onto the nail, and then I squeak from side to side, making sure that that nail polish remover is permeating and penetrating into that polish, especially if the client has a red or a darker polish on. You don't want to be spreading it around the cuticles, because if you do that, there's no way back, basically. You're going to just get it everywhere. So I pop my product on and I squeak and I go backwards and forwards and I work my way down the nail, okay? And I then fold it over and I do another pump and I go around the cuticles, making sure that's all nice and clear, and coming off again and coming down the sides, making sure it's all nice and off, okay? Really, really important we get all that nail polish off before we even start. If there is a little bit stuck underneath the cuticle, if they've done their own nails, and you're not going to be able to get it off, we're going to be doing the cuticles anyway, so it's no major drama, all right? So you can always get those last little bits out with your cuticle pushers. So remember, when you have got nail polish remover on cotton swabs, you need to make sure these go straight into a lined bin straight away. Do not put them on your towel. It will sink through and it will affect the varnish on your table. And if you're a mobile therapist and you're at someone else's dining table, you will have to pay for a new resurfacing of the dining table. So make sure you go over, removed all 10 fingers. Okay, nice and easy. And I'll get rid of all of that. Does anyone have a Daiso shop, that little Japanese shop near them? No? I think you can order them online. I've actually just found these really gorgeous little teardrop containers to put products in. Okay, so this is something, because I like to do, because I have big loads of products and I quite like to decant into little pots rather than having lots of bottles around, and that way now I know the single use per person. And then I've also got a little black version as well. So actually these are something that I quite like to decant my products into, but I also use them for facials as well as for manicures. So where obviously I mix up my masks, face masks in these, just something a little bit different rather than having your bottles out on display. Entirely up to you how you set up your manicure station. So as you can see, I've got a little towel rolled up underneath the hand here for support. If you do have one of those dust extractor supports, you can use that. You can also get foam rollers. You can use that as well and pop a little towel over. It's entirely up to you. You don't have to use anything at all, but it does just put the hands at a slightly better angle for you to be able to work on your beautiful clients. All right, so we've removed our beautiful polish. I'm just going to get this up here. So all their jewelry, all their car keys, everything, it's all in a bowl to the side so that they don't ruin their own polish at the end. We've chosen the color. So the color today is that I'm going to be painting with a good shake is called Vernus by, so that's called Really Red, actually it's just called Really Red by Essie. Okay, so I love Essie polishes. I think they're 5 free or 7 free now, meaning that they're relatively free of the really nasty chemicals that can be found in nail polishes. There are lots of different brands out there. I know that there's Raw, they make a nice lot of polishes that are quite free of terrible chemicals. There's also Sea Siren, they make some beautiful polishes, and oh, there's quite a few different companies that have that are relatively chemical free and free of formaldehyde and things like that, which used to be in a lot of nail lacquers, and now they're now missing, which is really good. And if you are going to go into buying a gel nail polish collection, look for something that is HEMA free. So HEMA, it's called HEMA free. A lot of people are actually allergic to HEMA and can cause lifting of the nail plate off the natural nail bed. So something to be aware of. If you are investing in a system, you may as well just start off and get a HEMA free. I know Luminous Gel Color, they are HEMA free, and they are made in Australia, which is really, really exciting. Okay, so we've got our color, we've got our base coat, and then I've also got my top coat as well. Okay. Line those up on the side. So we've taken off our polish, removed the polish, we've inspected the nails for any contraindications. There's nothing going on there. So what I like to do at this stage is I actually use a cuticle remover. So it's not actually in your sequence, but it is something that I quite like to do. So I just put a dot of cuticle remover on each individual nail, and I don't make contact. So I'm literally, the product makes contact with the client's finger, not the actual, I'm not touching it. Okay, I'm literally just hovering and popping a little bit of oil onto my client's cuticle, because the warmth of the water that we're going to be soaking the nails in is going to help that oil infuse. Okay, this is what makes it a bit more of a spa manicure compared to anything else. I'm then going to bring over my little bowl, remove that, I'll move that over, and I'm actually going to rest these little fingers into this little bowl and let them soak. So in my bowl, I do have some nail soak. and also some nice, beautiful hot water in there as well. So I'm just letting them soak in there. In the meantime, I would do the other hand. So starting with the client's right hand, we would cut, shape, and file the polishes. Apply cuticle remover, massage in, and place hand in the water. I'm going to bring that out, and I'm just going to demonstrate what that actually looks like on the nails. Okay. And the nails, that the little towel that I'm using to dry the client's nails with, I always keep that on my lap as something. So I've always got it to hand if I need to dry my fingers or anything like that. There. So we've taken the nail polish off. Then if we need to use nail clippers, basically when we're using a nail clipper, we need to make sure that we support the fingers and we come in, okay? And we click round, and I try and create as much of a smooth shape with my nail clippers as humanly possible. Just make sure your nail clippers are clean in between clients. And then when we go on to file, we file the natural nail in one direction. Okay, so these are already got tips on, they've actually got gelish on, but it's the same idea. Go around the side, tweak that shape. Sometimes I go underneath just to remove the fluff. Flick up like so, and that removes all the fuzz from the nail. So I'd go along and I would do that to all 10 fingers, or all 5 fingers, sorry. I'm going to do the thumb. Go around each side. And we support the nail as we go. Beautiful. So the difference between filing on an artificial nail when we start to do gel and acrylic as to a natural nail. As a natural nail, we go in one, generally we go in one direction when we're going over the whole nail plate, and I'm actually hooking under a 45-degree angle and then filing across, okay? Because if you go too straight, you end up with fluff coming up to the end. Around each side, towards the middle. A bit of fluff out. All the way across. So usually I go thumb to little finger. Easy. Okay, and then the little finger, which we already did. So we've removed polish, inspect the nails for contraindications. One of the hands is already soaking. We've cut, filed and shaped the nails. We then would apply cuticle remover to this hand, and we would then put that hand into the bowl. Okay. We would then take the other hand back, and the hand that has come out of the bowl, we would then go on to do our cuticle work. So to do our cuticle work, I might actually do this on myself because my hand model doesn't have cuticles, but I do. Mine are terrible at the moment. I've grown them especially for you guys. Do feel privileged. So I start off with a little bit of cuticle oil. The reason I'm applying my cuticle oil is it allows slip on the natural nail plate. And when you bring your hands out of the bowl, obviously we're giving them a little bit of a dry. It's only really the fingertips that are wet because you haven't submerged the whole hand. Anyway, so your hand would be in this position. And when we are doing the cuticles, it's really important that you're very aware of your dimensions and how sharp these little cuticle pushers can actually be. You can do a lot of damage with these, especially with these corners. Everyone has a slightly different one. There's lots of different shapes available. This one's by Hawley. I quite like it because it is sharp, and I can get what I need to get done really quickly. Okay, so when I always anchor on with my little finger, so this is the way I hold it. I hold it as if I'm writing. And I always stick my little pinky out The reason I stick my little pinky out is not to be posh, it's to actually anchor on to my client. So I have it as a support. So then I will start on one side and I'm not digging, I'm not pushing down heaps, I'm just going over enough that I can feel the sensation, I can feel the excess cuticle on the natural nail plate, and I'm working towards the middle, gently gliding up, and then I'll come up the other side and around that way, okay? And you can actually see little bits of cuticle coming off the nail plate, which, I don't know if you want a bit of fluff, but you can see there's a little bit of cuticle skin and things available like on the end of there, and there's a little bit around here as well. All right, so with my cuticles, they're not, I mean, I think they're terrible, but I know there's a lot worse cuticles that I've had to deal with out there, especially people who are a nail biter. You can be there for ages doing cuticles, and you have to be careful if people are a nail biter, because the body produces more it produces more skin around the cuticles, because it sees it as it's the nails being attacked constantly, which it is with the teeth or picking it and things like that. So it produces more cuticle, and the cuticle has a really good blood flow to it, and quite often it can be prone to tearing. So it's something that we just have to be really aware of. We don't want to be tearing people's cuticles. So I just whiz around. I'm going to do all 5 fingers. This one's a little bit more tricky. And we go around and we do all 5 fingers. Any questions so far? You find if people are right-handed or left-handed, wherever they hold a pen, quite often the cuticle can be more tougher on that corner, which is quite interesting. And if any little straggly hangnails and bits and pieces pop up, then certainly that's something that we can get off with the cuticle nippers. I'm just going around, whizzing around. Shouldn't take too long at all. If you need to wipe, don't wipe on the towel, it's gross. Just wipe it on a clean little pad, okay? And I keep that to the side. Right, so that and then I can use the same little pad for the other side as well. So if we have a little look at I don't know if you can see my fingers, you can see here we've got excess cuticle that needs nipping because it doesn't look tidy in any way, shape or form. So then we go on with our cuticle, our beautiful cuticle nippers. These are fantastic little things. Keep an eye on your cuticle nippers and make sure that they're not prone to rusting, because certain sterilization solutions can cause rusting. And when I hold these, this is how I hold them. Okay, so my hand wraps around the whole thing and my thumb sits just behind that joint, just there.
I can't really see your hand. You have to move it down a bit.
Better?
Yeah, that's better.
Sorry. Hang on, let me go back onto this and I can see the angle. Oh yeah, there we go. You wouldn't have been able to see that at all. Okay, so that's where my hand sits on my cuticle nippers. So I have perfect angle and perfect application of and control of my cuticle nippers. Also, I try and anchor on with my little finger when I'm, if possible, when I'm nipping those cuticles. Okay, so we're only wanting to remove the dead skin. We're not wanting to cause any bleeding or anything. And I just gently work around the cuticle and remove anything that's I've lifted off the nail plate. So for instance, we've got this little fluffy bit here. You can see my old drill marks on my nails, they're terrible. I'm just going to nip those corners out. and remove those to make a nice flush cuticle. Now, the tidier you get your cuticles, the easier it's going to make it when you go on to apply your polish, because you don't want any little rough bits of cuticles getting in the way of your nail polish, because your nail polish will never look good. Okay, really nice and easy. All right, so done our little cuticles. I then would give my little nippers a little wipe over, and I'm going to sit this just to the side for the minute with my tools on it, because then I can use that on the other hand as well when I go on to do the other hand. So we've done our cuticle remover, we've massaged it in, we've pushed back everything, we've filed the nails, made sure they all look lovely, and then what we're going to do is repeat on the other hand. Okay, so we take the other hand out, we make sure all those cuticles are done, so we gently push back with our, put your oil on, push everything back, nip anything if necessary. You don't have to use your nippers every time. That's not always necessary. But if you need to, that's what they're there for. All right, nice and easy. Then what we're going to do is go on to do a hand and arm exfoliation. So with your hand and arm exfoliation, really, really important. If you've got a tub of exfoliator, don't scoop it out with your fingers. You need to be using a spatula of some kind. So I actually order little bamboo spoons, and I actually order them off eBay, just mainly because my products often sit in my pretty little bowls with my little, and I can actually sterilize these because they're varnished, so that works out quite well. But yeah, so to do a hand and arm, you literally don't need much at all. Just a small pea is more than enough. Okay, really, really nice and easy. And when we are exfoliating, I know I demonstrated it before, is I apply my product first. So I've applied it up the arm. I then usually wet my fingers, and I do little circles. And I'm using the flat of my hand. I'm not just using my fingers. And I'm going up and I'm going around the elbow. Make sure you do the elbow because it feels lovely. But also we always end up with really dry elbows. So everything I do, I usually do in 3 or 4 movements up the arm, round the elbow, and then I slide back down. Okay, over the hand, and then I'm going to come down the fingers. If you have clients who have a really, really dry hands and arms, you can actually do like a nice glycolic scrub, because that's going to remove all the, and then you can turn the hands over. You can go up, up the arms, and then you can come into the palms and do some nice circles. You can actually use your hand as well, but make sure you're doing the palms. And it's nice if you can use both hands at this stage, but like this, because that's quite a nice movement. And then you can glide up one side and up the other and down again. All right, little movement. And then to take that off, we're going to use a wet hot towel. So I'm just going to go and get my nice hot towel. And roll my little towel. And then to do this, I'm going to lay it, and it's nice, remember it's nice and toasty and warm. I'm actually going to squeeze and press this into the arm. And then glide that over the hand, a little wiggle over the fingers. I then fold it over. Okay, and then I can go up, I can go round, bring the client's hand down, make sure I'm coming all the way off and make sure I'm going between all the digits, because there's nothing worse if you get scrub just sat in between these joints. That can actually feel quite uncomfortable. So make sure I get all the scrub off, and you can see the difference. I hope you can see the difference between 1 and 2. So this arm's nice and glowy and light and refreshed, and this one kind of looks a little bit more tanned, which is really interesting considering I've only just done an arm scrub. So clients love it. They feel so refreshed and beautiful. And then you can go over with a dry towel and just dry that off, because no one likes to feel, I mean, the towels aren't dripping wet, but still, it's just nice. And then by drying off the arm, you're actually removing any little bits of scrub that might be remaining. Okay, nice and easy. And then the hand's nice and clean. From there, we can repeat it. We can apply cuticle oil, and then we're going to massage it in. So we're going to apply some more cuticle oil now that the arms are nice and clean. The other hand is still soaking, remember? I'll do a little bit of cuticle oil on each. I quite like the Perfect Nails cuticle oil because it does have this really nifty little dropper in it. I like cuticle oils with a dropper. If yours has a brush, please don't use it. It's not hygienic. Okay, I would actually use cotton tips, like, you know, earbuds, dip one end in, and then if you need to go back in, use the other end. Okay, don't ever double dip, because you're putting skin cells into your oil, which is gross. Okay, people don't think about these things. But yeah, the Perfect Nails tropical oil. I've used Creative, I've used Essie, I've used so many different oils over the years, but this one's quite nice. Don't mind it. I've used organic ones. Basically, all it is grapeseed oil, avocado oil, vitamin E oil, and some fragrance, whatever fragrance is. Some perfume, something completely artificial. But anyway, so we've massaged that into the cuticles, doing little circles, and we're going to go on to do a really nice hand massage. Okay, and I'll let that sink in. So what I'm actually going to do is go in. I'm going to pop my oils on, just because my arms actually feel quite dry. Okay, then you would take the other hand out and you would do an exfoliation on that arm, nice and easy. Okay, and then we're going to go and do our lovely massage. So remember, your massage is in your sequence. Okay, so support the arm with one hand. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to make sure I can see you and that you can see me. Yes, you can see me. Hang on. There's that. Sorry, I'm just making sure I can see everything on this, you all on the screen at the same time. Okay, so we always support the arm. So you'd support the arm with one hand. Okay, and then what we're going to do is spread the oils up. Okay, like so. I'm actually going to do it to me because it's weird doing it on a plastic hand. Okay, glide back down. So remember, you would be actually supporting with the other hand. And I always do 3, and I squeeze the arm gently to your discretion. So 3 to 5 times, though, we do a nice effleurage movement, and I actually come over the inside of the arm as well, and I would actually alternate arms. So I'd come up one hand, 2, 3, come down to the wrist, and then I'd come up using the other hand, 1, 2, 3, glide back down, and then I do some nice petrissage movements. These are going to be like little circles where I'm actually gently pinching and glide the arm. You can see that. From the side, it looks like this. and lifting. And I do the same using both hands. So effleurage movements are designed to increase lymphatic drainage, start stimulating blood circulation, introduces your touch to the client and is gently relaxing and quite soothing and quite draining. Whereas petrissage, that goes that little bit deeper, gets that blood flow going that little bit more, stimulates that lymph that little bit more, and induces relaxation into the muscles and into the joints as well. Okay, so you always start and finish any of your massage movements with your effleurage movements. You would always then go on to petrissage. Okay. Cup the client's elbow with your hand and rotate your hand over the elbow 3 times. And then with both of your hands, hold the client's hand with both of your hands, with your thumbs on top and your fingers underneath the palm. Let's just come off. And then we're actually going to do some nice little circles on the inside of the hand. It's almost like you're drawing love hearts up the hand. Like so. And then you can turn the hand over and do the same on the back of the hand as well. Okay. And you can do small frictions where you're going between each metatarsal. So metatarsals, we've got the bones going up here. We're going through those joints all the way up. So we show you on me, you'll see probably easier. We're applying pressure with our thumb and we're actually going up towards the wrist in like a little rocking friction motion. So going all the way up to the wrist and then sliding back down again. Okay. Which feels quite relaxing if you're doing it on you. Okay. And we've done our effleurage on the palm. Okay. We can interlock our hands into the client's fingers and we can do gentle rotations. 3 ways, 1 way. Rotate that client's hand the other way. And we can do the same with the fingers. And I'll say mobilizing the joints. Unless you've got someone with arthritis, don't do this. Okay. Effleurage, a few gentle movements to the hand and the arm. Coming up the inside of the arm. And squeezing and coming off. Okay. You can do that as a whole hand and then squeeze with both hands and come off that way. That's also quite nice, or you can use the one hand. It's up to you. All right, so quite simple little massage movements there. Quite effective. And then once you've done that, put your client's jewelry back on, and then we're actually going to go on to polish the nail. Okay. So you can get payment ready at this stage, as I said. And then we're actually going to go on to polish the fingers. So they're going to have moisturizer on them. So what we need to do is clean these nail plates. And then you would do the other, you obviously do massage on the other hand. Take out the water, put some oil on, put your moisturizer on and moisturize and massage the other hand. We're then going to cleanse over our nail. So if you do have Perfect Nail Sunny Prep Cleanse, you can use this to prepare the nail plate with, or you can just go over with nail polish remover as well. It's entirely up to you. So we just push a little press, and then what we're going to do is we're going to actually wipe over the nail, make sure we go around that cuticle area to make sure that we are removing any oils off that nail plate. So it's at this stage that you make sure that you don't touch that nail plate again before putting polish on, because all you're going to be doing is putting oils back onto that nail plate. So wipe over, wipe over, wipe over. And we do the thumb as well. And we do that to all 10 fingers. Nice and easy. And then we are going to go over with our, I'll do mine as well so I can demonstrate on a shorter and a longer nail. That's why I've got all these out. I've only got short, dinky little fingers. So I always like to use a nail strengthener when I'm putting my polish on. And if you can't get into your nail polish, you can actually run the neck of the bottle under really hot water, and that should be enough to release your polish bottle. It's really important that you don't end up getting a load of polish around the ends of your bottles, because it will reduce the life of your bottles. Okay, so let's start off on the thumb. So for instance, if we're doing, I'll demonstrate on me first. So if we're doing a small nail, just tweak that little shape a little bit. I'll just bump to the end of it. Okay. So this is your perfect placement. So we've got a blank side and we've got a little bit of polish on the other side. We start off in the middle and then we push up and then down. We then glide over to the side and come down, glide over to the side and come down, and then you can usually do 3 little sweeps, and we go around the tip of the nail as well, just to make sure that we are capping, what we call capping that nail. Okay, I hope you all got to see that. I'm going to do it again. So we start off in the middle of the nail and we push the product up and then come back down again. Come over to the side, make sure we've created really good boundaries around our cuticle, and then we tip, just go around the tip as well. All right, that should be really, really nice and simple. That way you're not going to flood the cuticles. I want there to be a little gap between the cuticle and your polish starting. The two should not meet. If they meet, you're going to get lifting and it's just going to look messy. Okay. When we are doing a longer nail, for instance, and I'm actually going to demonstrate this because we've already got a pink nail, which actually works out better. I'm actually going to do this in silver so you can see on camera where I'm actually putting it. So I'm actually going to do the tip of the nail first with my base coat. And I come all the way around the sides and I cap the end. Okay. And then I'm going to come up the middle and do exactly what I just did. And because it's silver, I can see where I'm putting it. I'm just going to do another bit because it's a little bit uneven. So, as you can see, I'm leaving a tiny, see where the pink is? I've purposely left a tiny little gap to enable for the cuticle. All right, nice and easy. And that way you've got your base coat on and it's covered everything. And we've gone around the sides of the nail and we've also capped the end of the nail as well. Should be nice and easy. So the reason I do the end of the nail first when we're doing that is because if we do it the other way around, just doesn't quite work as well. When we are going on to do our red, it's really important that you've shaken your bottle and that it's a good consistency. Okay. You cannot work with a thick polish. I always keep hold of my nail polishes You don't have to, you can keep them in front of you. It's entirely up to you. But when I'm wiping, I'm just wiping off. I'm not doing this, okay? So by this, I mean, I'm not doing this. So all you're going to do is cover the top of your polish bottle in polish. I'm giving it a dip and dragging up. And then I usually just drag to the side as well. So I've just got polish on about a third of the brush. All right. And that enables me good placement. And now, same thing, I anchor on. I start off in the middle, but leaving a really good gap. See, literally, but there's my gap. Okay, so that's how I start. And then I push it up to where I want it. It's really hard to do this when I can't actually see what I'm doing because my nail's facing the camera, but you're getting the general gist. Come down each side. And with red polish, you need to work fast. All right, now, that's my first coat. It's thin. It's not perfect because I've been talking rather than actually painting the nail, but I'm going to make it perfect on the second coat. Don't stress too much about your first coat. If it takes you, depending on your polish that you're using, if it takes you 3 layers, really thin layers, compared to 2 normal layers, then that's fine, okay? Whatever gets you the result that you need to get, okay? Really, really nice and easy. So when we're painting a longer nail, I do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to come down one side first, but then I'm also going to come up to the cuticle, okay? So I've done the end and then I come up to the cuticle. Slightly different application method. Start down the middle, we do the middle, and then I come up and do the same things I was doing before, all the way down. You try and do it in one foul swoop from the cuticle. You're going to flood the cuticle area, but then you're also just going to end up with a really streaky tip. Always tip the end of the nail, all right? Beautiful. A little bit translucent on the front, on the first coat. That's fine, because you're going to do 2 coats anyway. All right, any questions so far with application? All right, everyone's good. So we do all 10 fingers the same. So we've done we've squeaked and tidied all nails. We've put our base coat on all 10 fingers. And then we've got our colour. So again, if you're doing a shorter nail, anchor on, come up to the middle, give it a little push, come down one side, come down the other side. And just seal the tip. So end up with a nice, perfect polish. Okay, you can see how I've actually left a slightly bigger gap just to accentuate what it is I'm doing. All right, but I'm going to get that on the second go. All right, I'm not too stressed. I'd rather you leave a slightly bigger gap than flood the cuticle with red polish, because if you flood that cuticle with red polish, oh my goodness me, it can be quite painful to, not literally painful, but it's just a bit of a pest to tidy up, to be quite honest. But quite often you'll get like a little bit on the skin, on the end there. You see that? That's fine. We can go back and get that later. Don't fiddle with it now. Just let it dry. Okay. It's very easy to go, oh, I need to get that now and try and wipe around it with your nail or whatever. Just leave it until the end. That's a good little tip with makeup as well. If you ever get mascara where you don't want it, don't go back and try and get it off straight away on your face. Just let it dry, because it's easier to flick it off with a dry cotton bud than it is to mess around with wet mascara. Okay, Now on that one, I do have a tiny little nail, not even over the end of the nail bed. So you can see I have got it on the skin, and that's totally fine. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. And then we do the other hand. Okay, nice and easy. I'm going to go back and do my second coat of this nail now. Just going to do the ends, seal those little ends. The secret with polish is you need to work quickly with it, because if you don't work quickly with it, you'll get a bit stuck. And that's the difference between gel polish, like shellac, and real polish. Gel polish you can play with until the cows come home, because it's not going to start to set until you put it under the light. However, real polish, it starts to set. And yes, it does take longer to set. However, it can get a little bit sticky. Okay. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do my second coat on my shorter nail. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to start here. I'm going to pull around one way. This time I'm going to work all the way along the nail. And I'm not pushing hard. Okay, with the polish, I'm literally gliding over the nail plate. I'm just sealing the end. So it's really important that you understand that we always do 2 coats of colour. We always do a base coat, we always do 2 coats of colour, and then we always do a top coat as well. Okay, so my little nails, they're all there, they're all attached, they're all on. I'll let those dry for a couple of minutes. While this is on, we're still doing the other hand. So you do base coat on all 10 fingers, first coat on all 10 fingers, second coat on all 10 fingers, top coat on all 10 fingers, in that order, okay? Don't do first, second, you know, work through, because by the time you get back to that first finger, it should be ready for you to put a top coat on. Now, before I put a top coat on, that's when I tidy up. So that's why I like my cuticle pusher, because again, it's one of those things I like to work smarter rather than harder. It has this really groovy little tip on the end of it. You can actually use cotton tips to do this, to tidy up. You can use an orange stick covered in cotton wool. I actually use my cuticle pusher, and I split a cotton pad and I grab some fluff, and I do what I call candy flossing. And I literally candy floss the end by rotating it, pulling it tighter and tighter and tighter. So I end up with a perfect little thing, because that way I'm not throwing out excessive plastic. You know, cotton tips, I know they're cheap and cheerful, and that's fine, but the less environmental impact I can make, the better. Otherwise, I'm going to be going through cotton tips like nobody's business. And then I literally get a little bit, that's why these are so useful. and I will literally push that down, and then I've got a little well here of polish remover, and I just dip it nice and easy. The excess on there. And then with this, with my nail polish remover, I can then just tidy up any little bits that I've got where I don't want them. And that's where it can be a bit tricky with a shorter nail, because you are going to paint a bit on the end of the finger. It's just the way of life. But don't stress about it until the end, until this point, because this is when we're going to be getting it off. And the reason I do it before my top coat is because generally I don't tend to get my top coat everywhere. I've got it on this finger over here for some reason. Yeah, you don't tend to get it on your top coat. It tends to stay fairly put, but also you don't want to be dragging your top coat off your fingernails either. When you're tidying up, you're more likely to make a mistake. Okay. Right. And then we're going to go on with our top coat. So top coat, we go on with the same way. I'll start off in the middle, wide round. Here, we want to be careful about the pushing motion though, because I don't want to make a hole in my beautiful red polish that I've just created. So I'm just gliding this over, and I'm not overloading, it's just a thin layer. It depends on the thickness of your polish, your thickness of your, like the clear coat that you're doing over the top. What you will find though, which you have to be a little bit wary of, is with a red polish, sometimes it can leave tint on your brush, okay? Which if you're then going to go on and do a French polish on your next client, that will come off onto your client. So sometimes when you have this situation, you actually have to, when you finish painting all 10 fingers, no point doing it beforehand. You might have to go back and actually clean that brush before you put it back in for storage, okay? Plus you're going to end up just giving your top coat a little pink tinge. And here again, I start on one side and I drag all the way to the end, make sure I've got a good amount. I'll go back in and I'll get some more on a longer nail. And take that all over the nail, make sure I've gone around the end. So we have polished to perfection. I quite like these. These are quite nice. This is a No Light Extended Wear Top Coat by Morgan Taylor. This is one of my favorite top coats, actually. It's called React. Dries quite quickly, can be used with other polishes, doesn't just have to be used with her own brand, which I quite like. Doesn't need a light to set. It's just air dry, like an air dry top coat, goes nice and shiny, but also has really, really good durability as well. A fantastic, fantastic little product. So there we have a nicely glossed, beautiful glossy nail, perfectly manicured to perfection. And mine look quite nice too. Okay, so I've tidied up all those little edges and they look nice and tidy now. Okay, yay, I've got red fingers, just like my profile picture with my coffee cup. I just need to do my little white love heart, but we'll wait till Valentine's Day to do that again. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about what they would do in regards to a spa manicure? Does it seem quite simple? Move that over there. Okay, let me just do that. Hello again. It's nice to see you all. Rather than you just see me as a decapitated teacher. Yeah, so when we are cleaning up our areas, there's lots of dirty things that you're going to be having. So we will have had, we've got our files, we've got our cuticle pushers, we've got our cuticle nail clippers, we've got our cuticle nippers, our little spatulas, which may or may not have come in contact with your client, and also a three-way buffer if that's something that you've used. So in your kits, you may have a high gloss buffer, and these are the exception to the rule about filing in one direction. Okay, so I didn't demonstrate in a spa manicure because not everybody does it in a spa manicure. I think it's quite nice before polishing. But with this, all we do is we go backwards and forwards as fast as we can. Okay, so when we're doing it on a finger, on a person, if I demonstrate, I'm literally, this is how fast I'm doing it to make the nail really nice, really nice and shiny. And I'll then turn it over and do the high gloss side as well. Okay, and the difference is quite amazing actually. It gives it the highest, it just makes your nails look like glass. It's quite beautiful. So these, and it makes a really smooth area for you to be able to put a nice beautiful polish on. Now, if you are doing a gel color, for instance, I know it's not officially part of this unit. There isn't actually a unit for gel polish. It doesn't exist at all, which is amazing really, because people just think you should be able to paint your nails and should be fine. Anywhere you work, we'll train you in gel polish anyway, but you can't put gel polish over a perfectly shiny surface because it's not going to stick. It's just going to end up peeling off. But nail polish is different. Okay, nail polish goes on quite nicely onto a nice shiny nail. All right, so I like to give it a really good gloss up. Remember, when you are buffing over nails, you are creating warmth and you are creating heat. It's never going to be as crazy as a heat spike from an e-file. If you haven't had one of those, I don't recommend it. Or the heat from the gel lamp, even. Nothing like that. It just gets that little bit warm. All right, but they do create quite a beautiful high gloss. You're probably not going to be able to see that on this camera, but oh, there you go. Okay, so it makes it look like there's clear polish on there, but there isn't. That's literally, I just shined it up. It took me 2 seconds. Okay, and it just makes it clients look healthier. So if people have been having chemotherapy, for instance, or have had chemotherapy and they're in remission and they're coming out the other end of it, the nails can actually end up quite ridged. And they can actually change, the nail plates can actually change color. And that's when it's quite nice to actually give them a really good buff over, give them back some shine, make them feel nice and healthy again. Okay, and the clients, even if they don't have a polished color on, and for clients that don't want a color, I finish them with one of these, a three-way buffer. I think they're quite nice. All right, really nice and easy. Okay, so to clean all your tools, you are going to need a container, and it can be a Tupperware container with a lid, something that you can keep your tools in that all fit, that they can be completely submerged into. Really important. They must be, like the handles of your nippers must be able to be submerged. So I've worked in salons before where they've had like a little shot glass, for instance, with sterilizing solution on, and literally the little end nippers are what has gone into the solution. I'm like, that's great, but the other client's bacteria is still on the handles, and you're using those handles all day and every day, and and you're touching your client hand, and then you're touching your tools. Okay, people don't think about that. So when I see jars of tools on nail bar bench tops, it creeps me out a little bit. So I'm all right, fair enough if it's a pile of clean brushes and clean things, but 9 times out of 10 they're using it and they might dip it into some solution and then they might put it back in their container. I'm like, but the handles aren't clean. It's gross. So what you need to be doing is get yourself a toothbrush or get yourself a little nail brush that you're only going to be using for sterilizing. Okay. Denture cleaning brushes are brilliant, absolute genius inventions. They're like gigantic toothbrushes with like little sticky out bits on the end. They're actually really, really awesome. Let me see if I can find a picture.
These ones are
Hang on, I've lost you. Hang on, where are you? Yeah, those. So you can use those for cleaning, or you can use those to clean off any debris at the end. But I just use this to wipe over the nails. Some people like will dip it in water and like give the nails a really like a scrub over and then dry them again, and then put the polish on. But I sort of think, well, we've dried the nails out a little bit. I don't really want to be scrubbing them again, so that's why I just wipe over before polishing. But that's what they're for, just so you know. But yes, you can use those if you would like to. That's absolutely fine. Let's see. Okay. I am just going to, I've just Googled denture cleaning brush. I'm just going to see if I can share my screen. For a second. There you go. So that's a denture cleaning brush. So you can see how this little end is pointy, and that is actually really good for getting into your cuticle nippers, and also up into this section here. All right, really, really nice and easy. You're also going to need to clean your bowl of water and give that a really good rinse out and spray over with hospital grade disinfectant, and also get rid of any products that you may have left in bowls and give everything a really good wipe over and clean. Also, you're going to need a new towel on your bed, on your bench tops, and obviously new hot towels put in. You obviously can't reuse that hot towel and put it back into the hot towel cabinet or rice cooker or under the tap and reuse it again. I hope that makes sense to you. All right, so nice and easy. So what we do is I take everything over to the sink and I go from dirty to clean, and the two do not mix. All right, so I start off with my little pile of dirty things, and I usually have a Tupperware container for dirty tools, and I can just chuck them in there through the day. So I have lots of different sets of tools. If I don't have enough turnover time in between clients, I know that I have enough tools. I know I've got lots of files and all the rest of it. So then I'll make some nice hot soapy water and get that manicure brush or the denture cleaning brush and give everything a really good scrub over. Make sure everything's all really, really nice and clean. Rinse everything. And then I have a clean Tupperware container that has hospital grade disinfectant in it. Okay, so it could be Dettol, hospital grade disinfectant, or Domestos, hospital grade disinfectant. It could be a hospital disinfectant from Aldi. It could be one from your local beauty wholesalers that you've ordered online in a great big 5-litre drum. As long as it's a hospital grade, as long as it's not a domestic grade, it needs to be hospital grade disinfectant. They all do the same thing. Okay. Do not leave them overnight. They will rust your tools. Okay, really, really important. You only need to do it 20 to 30 minutes, but generally speaking, read the back of your container because they're all different dilution rates. So some of them you need to use neat. Some of them you need to dilute with a certain percentage of water. Follow your manufacturer's instructions. Okay, and it will say on the back there if you're using it to clean tools and sterilization and things like that, and that's totally fine. Depending on your state and territory regulations, you may need an autoclave machine in your salon for cleaning these things. I know that South Coast, New South Wales, like Wollongong, Nowra area, the Shoalhaven local council, they said that everybody needs to be able to use a cuticle nipper. You need to have an autoclave machine. You know, we're not tattooing people. We're not dealing with blood spots. We're not handling needles and sharps. We're clipping off dead skin. We're not, but they're arguing it's live tissue. If we're clipping off live tissue, we're clipping off too much, is my argument, but I don't make the rules. So they say that you do need an autoclave. So just double check with your local council regulations, because everyone's quite different. But if you're using something that you can put them in boiling water, that's one way of sterilizing your tools. You're also, you're cleaning them in hot soapy water to remove any debris. You're chemically disinfecting them to remove any other entities and germs and things like that, and killing any live bacteria that might be on there. And an autoclave is steam sterilization. So it's using heat and water and steam. So you could boil them if you want to. You could boil your tools if really needed to, but I think it gets up to, I can't remember, it's like 220 degrees or 260 or 300 degrees in an autoclave. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, they are very effective, but they're a couple of grand, I believe, little autoclave machines. But it might just be, if you're working in a particular state or territory that says you need an autoclave machine, just don't use these. Okay, get yourself a sharp one of these and you can just nip it off with this anyway. Sometimes I don't even use these. You don't need them for everybody. Okay. Anyway, that's my little rant. So we scrub everything, make sure it's all nice and clean. We then submerge it into our disinfectant. Make sure you do not leave your files in hot water. I literally have them dry in my hand, and I have my hot soapy water with my nail brush on. I give them a good old scrub over out of the water. I then dip them in, rinse them, give them a little flick, and then I submerge them quickly into my sterilizing solution, and then I sit them on the side to dry. Okay, because they've already got the sterilizing solution on them. Because if you submerge these and leave them submerged, the emery board part peels off, and they go really warped and wonky, which you don't really want. Okay, and you end up, or you can just use another one. I think that, what do they work out? 30, 40 cents a file. It's up to you. Okay, follow your local council regulations, because everybody, even though we're one country, we have so many different rules here in Australia. So work with what you can do. Okay, I have no issues with reusing files as long as they're clean. You can remove all the physical debris on there. There's no, if you cut a client with it, if it's been too sharp and you've got a blood spot, throw it out. Okay, that's a completely different thing altogether. But if you're just doing a gentle bit of filing with it, there's no reason why we have to create landfill. Okay, when these things can be cleaned. And certain files will say that they are reusable files. Okay, nice and easy. And the same with three-way buffers, exactly the same. Give them a little scrub, put them in your sterilizer, your disinfectant, let them dry. Okay. Be aware though, if you're using a green tinted sterilizing solution, sometimes it can stain the foam green, just to let you know. Okay. And that is well and truly sufficient for what you will be needing to do. So does anybody have any questions about that? I think I've gone through everything. Awesome. And Amy, what are you doing today? I can see you doing your client. I'm watching you.
Sorry, we've actually got to do an acrylic removal, and then we're going through our manicure now that we've got the acrylics off.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, I'm going to watch you in the distance. But yeah, just make sure that you have filled it. You're going to be filling out a consultation form for her so she can use it for one of your assessments. That's awesome. Great stuff. So for those of you who don't know Amy, and I know a lot of you don't know each other, you just see little faces on a screen. Amy's been with us a little bit a while, and she's been doing the artificial nail course with us as well. And yeah, she's pretty fab. And same with Christine as well. Christine's been with us, as well as Stesha. Stesha's also been with us for a little bit now too, in regards to nails, which is great. And Amy, if you're talking, I can't hear you. No, you're not talking to me?
No,
okay, that's fine.
I'm talking through my sheet to check my steps.
Okay, that's all right. I'm just like, I can see your lips moving. You look like you're talking to me, but I don't know if you are or not. That's all right. You carry on. Beautiful. And Cassie, I can see that you've got your hand there, which is fantastic. And Christine and Ruth and Stesha. I know Stesha, you said you're going to be doing your theory, which is fabulous. So what you can do now is you can either practice on yourself some nail painting, and practice giving yourself a little hand and arm massage and just going through the motions and the movements. I know it's a bit hard if you do have an artificial hand model. I fell off mid massage, so I need there's some screws on the floor I need to pick up in a second. I might just turn my video off for that. This is real life. I can't argue with that. But yeah, so I'm going to get you to practice either on yourselves, do some hand painting. If you don't have a red nail polish, oh gosh, you can use any color you like, okay? As long as it's something that is going to be able to be shown up. Gosh, it can be like a chocolate color. I don't really mind. But as long as you're doing a practice and going through the motions, that is absolutely fine. If you do want to start on your theory and go through all your resources, we can also do that as well. I'm actually going to, if you're going to be doing practical, I'm going to go on and start talking about some theory, okay, because that I didn't cover this morning with you. All right, which I'm going to go through now, which will be good. Let me share my screen.
So I sort of was just going through the motions and the massaging on myself as you were talking.
Yeah.
And then I painted the model.
Excellent.
So do I just upload those?
Yeah. Yep, so you can upload those. So take pictures of the model's hands, that's fine. And if you want to, you can do it, you can take the polish off the model and yeah, do it all over again, just to get some practice in. Or click off the nails and start again, which is probably a better idea if you've got spare tips for them and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And I'll get onto head office about your kit. Well, it wasn't your kit. You've got your kit, haven't you? It was Ashley that needs her kit. All right. I'm going to go through the PowerPoints that we have in your resources here. When it decides to load. So does anyone have any questions? I know I keep asking, but in regards to painting techniques, I suppose when you get into it, you might have a few. Takes a minute. So let's have a little look at manicure and pedicure services. So health and hygiene, we've already touched on this a little bit, but manicure and pedicure services have the potential to cause cross-infection if proper hygiene procedures are not used. Okay, so we've already talked about having dirty tools with clean tools and how the two should not mix together, really important. You need to make sure you cover any cuts and abrasions with waterproof dressings, and if a client has a even like a hairy mole that you could end up catching or something like that, or even a wart or something, make sure it's covered with a waterproof dressing. Ensure your client's skin in the area to be treated is clean and free from contraindications. That's why we always check over our client's skin. Decant products from containers prior to use. So remember how I showed you my little bowls that I use? Really important that you do that as well. You can even use them to put your little cotton wool in and that kind of thing. Ensure clean linen is used for every client. Always clean your work areas after use. So you can use something like PinaClean, or you can actually mix up your hospital grade disinfectant into a spray bottle. Make sure it's labeled. Make sure that you download the safety data sheets for whatever chemicals you have in your salon. And make sure that you have those in a file to the side, just in case when you get a health inspector come through, that they know that you've got those and you are organised and you're professional. So always clean work areas after use, decant products, always dispose of any sharps according to health and safety guidelines. You're not going to be using sharps, so I wouldn't worry too much. Ensure all waste is disposed of immediately after treatment, according to workplace procedures and health and hygiene guidelines. Ensure all tools and equipment are properly cleaned and sanitised and sterilised if required prior to use on clients. We do not reuse products and equipment on clients. That is dirty. So if you notice that tools or equipment you're using have a fault or have become deteriorated, so for instance, I was actually just looking at these, and can you see how these little nippers, I've got loads of nippers, these are just the ones I picked up this morning, I didn't really look too closely at them, but you can see how we've got this little bit of rusting happening, a few little rust spots. It's just where it hasn't been dried properly before I put them in the autoclave, and they've ended up rusting, and also around the little pivot hole there as well. So I'm actually going to have to chuck these in the bin. I'm only using them on me, really, isn't it? But yeah, you can even see just down to the nippers as well that we do have a little bit of rusting happening here as well. So if you do have any rusting on your tools that is not salvageable, it means that your nippers or toenail clippers are renowned for it. I go through toenail clippers like I go through hot dinners, I swear. Just chuck them. They're cheap enough to replace. You do not have to have a particular brand of cuticle nipper or toenail clipper. Gosh, they're widely available from chemists all over the place, so it's good to have a good amount of them within your salon. And dispose of anything that has started to deteriorate. If you're working in a salon and you're not involved in the purchasing of these products, you will need to inform somebody that you are disposing of them, because otherwise they might think that they've been stolen or lost. Okay. They need to be obviously replaced before, quite often replaced before disposed of if stocks are low. But if they're dangerous to be used, you don't use them. Ensure you use and maintain all your tools and equipment, that you don't drop your cuticle nippers, because those little nippy ends will go inwards and they will break, especially if you have tiled floors or concrete floors in your salon. Maintain all your tools and equipment in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Ensure any water spills are cleaned up immediately to avoid a slip hazard, and avoid any manual handling hazards. Always be aware of your posture. Okay, so when you are painting your nails, try not to be like here painting nails. If you're this close to your client, you need reading glasses and don't get an eye test. You do not really want to be breathing on your client at any close proximity, because it's not hygienic, it's not nice. So make sure that we can keep our backs and shoulders straight as much as possible. Don't hunch, slouch, or round your shoulders. Use a chair that supports your back and ensure the lower half of your back is resting against the chair. Sit on the edge. Don't sit on the edge of your chair with your back unsupported, which is very easy to do in our industry, to be quite honest with you. Ensure that the client's arm or leg is being supported by a footrest or an armrest. So remember how we roll up our little towels to be a little wrist rest. You can use a bigger towel than this. These are just those little tiny facial towels that I make. A bigger one will probably be more suitable. Do not support the client's arm or leg using your own strength, as you will cause yourself repetitive strain, injury, and fatigue. Always use the correct posture when performing manicures and pedicures to avoid musculoskeletal injuries. Let's have a little look at the skin. So, anatomy of the skin. We have 3 main layers of the skin that are clustered into these 3 layers. The dermis. So this is the deeper layer of the skin. It's in the middle. Okay, so it's deep within the skin. This is the part of the skin that produces new skin cells, contains blood vessels, collagen, and elastin. The epidermis is the outer layer of the skin and is composed of dead skin cells, and this is the part of the skin that you will touch when performing a manicure. And the subcutaneous layer, or the hypodermis, is the fatty layer underneath the dermis that provides cushioning to the skin, which we can see just there. Anatomy of the nail. This is something that you need to learn off by heart. Okay, you need to know what all of these little areas of the nail are. We actually have some exam pictures in your resources, things that you can print out, stick to your fridge, and learn constantly, all right? Because it is in your exam. So where it says exam pictures in your resources, it's really important that you do digest that information. So starting off with, we have, where does our nail grow from? It's called the matrix. It's got nothing to do with the movie. Okay, this is where the new nail cells are produced. It's between the first knuckle and your cuticle. Okay, so in there, underneath the skin there. So the new nail cells are produced, which results in nail growth. So then we have our eponychium. So this protects the matrix from infection. So it's a flap of skin. It's basically the end of the where the skin meets your cuticle. That's called the eponychium. The bit behind the cuticle that covers the matrix, basically. Then we have the cuticle, which is the bit that we clip and nip and push back if necessary, if it's excessive. And the function of that is to protect the matrix from infection. We then have the lanula, which not everybody has. So these are the moons, you know, your half moons on your nails. Not everybody has a half moon, that's fine. And this is the front part of the matrix where keratinization takes place. So keratinization is the compaction of your protein cells, of your nail cells, to make the nail nice and hard as it grows towards the free edge. You've got the nail plate. So that's your actual nail. It's the bit that we file, it's the bit that we buff, the bit that we break if we knock or bang our fingers. It's the bit that we stick our acrylic and gel and nail tips to. It's the bit that we paint. And this is there to protect the nail bed. So underneath that is the nail bed, which provides nourishment and protection to the end of the finger. We've then got the nail grooves, and you'll be able to see those on most of your fingers, and mainly on your big toenail. They're really pronounced. It's the side, the bits of skin that are on either side of the nail that helps protect the side of the nail. So they help to guide and keep the nail plate growing in the right direction. And then what we have is we have the hyponychium, which protects the nail bed from infection, and that's the end of the finger. So remember when we, if you snap the free edge and you have your nails, if you're used to having a longer nail plate and you accidentally take it really, really short, you know how the end of your finger can be quite pink and a little bit delicate and a little bit tender? because it's not used to being exposed. That's the hyponychium. Okay. You may notice on people who are nail biters, who only have very small fingernails, that the eponychium can be quite raised and quite hard, almost calloused, and that's because it's trying to protect itself, because it's used to, its main function is to be covered with a nail plate. So the free edge of your nails, it protects the fingertip and hyponychium, and it's what you use to pick things up with. So it helps with our motor skills, essentially. So let's have a little brief look at the anatomy and physiology of the hands and the arms. So these are things that you're going to be needing to know. I always hold my hand out. So I'll do this way so it makes more sense. Okay, so we can actually see what we're talking about. So with the thumbs facing upwards, on top is the radius. Underneath is the ulna. The ulna is the bigger bone of your arm. Radius on top, ulna underneath. In our wrist, we have our carpal bones in here. Lots of little bones in our wrist. These long bones here, or 5 of them, are your metacarpals. And then our fingers are our phalanges. So we've got our ulna, being the big bone underneath, our radius on top, carpals are in the wrist, we've got metacarpals in the hand, and phalanges, which are the same as the toes, believe it or not. We'll go through later. The muscles of the hand and the arm. So we've just had a little look at the bones. Really, really simple. Outside of the arms. So running alongside where your ulna is, you've got the flexor ulnaris. It allows the wrist to bend. We've got the extensor ulnaris, which extends the wrist after flexion. We've got the extensor digitorum, which runs down the front of the arm. This extends the fingers and the wrist after flexion movement. Then we've got the brachiodialis, which is, it's a dog barking, it's really annoying. And this allows you to do both pronation and supination movements. And we've got the extensor carpi radialis longus, which extends the wrist after flexion. I'm just going to close my door because I can hear next door's dog eating a bone. Okay, so we have all of our beautiful muscles of the arm there, the forearm, I should say. Then we've got the muscles in the hand and the arm. Okay, so here we've got a little bit more information happening here. Can you see my screen? Yes, you are. Yep, you can see my screen. Good. So the inside of the arm, muscles can only contract in one direction. So muscles come in pairs. So you've usually got one on one side of the arm and one on the other side of the arm, and they work in symmetry. One will bend one way and one will bend another way, okay, to support the other. So think about your biceps. Assists supinator muscle to perform the opposite function of the pronator muscles by rotating the palm upwards. okay? Also performs a flexor function by bending the elbow. So that's what your bicep will do. We've got the supinator down on the forearm there, performs the opposite function to the pronator, which allows the arm to rotate from the palm down to the palm up. It allows that movement. We've got the pronator quadratus, rotates the forearm so that the palm can face downwards. The pronator teres allows the forearm to turn from the palm up to palm down, also flexes the elbow. So they all work together in a nutshell. The flexor carpi radialis decreases the angle between the wrist and the hand by allowing the wrist to bend. And the flexor carpi radialis allows the wrist to bend. The circulatory system. The circulatory system of your body consists of arteries and veins. Arteries carry oxygenated, Arteries carry oxygenated muscles from the heart to other areas of the body. Veins carry deoxygenated blood from areas of the body back to the heart. When you perform a massage, you should always perform the massage movements in the direction of the heart to promote blood flow back to the heart. So in a lot of Thai, a lot of Asian massage routines, they actually draw the blood to the ends of the fingertips because they work with your energy meridians. Whereas us more in Western cultures, we actually move our blood back towards our heart because we want to get rid of that deoxygenated blood to enable oxygenated blood to be stimulated in those areas. So slightly more of a scientific way of doing things, I suppose, just a little bit different. If anybody knows any more information about that, I'm more than welcome to let me know. So let's have a little look at the anatomy and physiology of the foot and the leg. So the names are very different on the feet as the legs. So remember, we've got the ulna underneath, we've got the radialis on top. And then we've got metacarpals, we've got the carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges being fingers. Nice and easy. On feet and toes, the tibia is the big bone. The fibula is the smaller bone of the leg. So I've actually cracked the end of my tibia and it's actually snapped off. And it's floating around in my leg. It's great. I'm rolling my ankle. I'm an idiot. I'm so annoyed with myself, but anyway, it's fine. So you got your tibia and your fibula. In your ankle bone, there's a whole cluster of bones that we refer to as the talus. We've then got the metatarsals, and then we've got phalanges, which are toes. So the bones in our feet are referred to as metatarsals, and then our toes themselves are known as the phalanges. There is a lot more into that I could go into, but for manicure and pedicure, you're not nurses and doctors, you don't need to know. But if you are interested and want to look more into the anatomy and physiology of the feet and the legs and the hands and the toes, you're more than welcome to, but I think this is enough to get your head around for what you need to be doing for the time being. Okay, so nice and easy. The smaller bone on the leg, you've got the fibula, then you've got the tibia, you've got your talus bones in your ankle, then in your foot, the long bones that run down towards your toes, around the top bridge of your foot. Those are your metatarsals, and your actual toes are called your phalanges. The same as your fingers are called phalanges. Wonderful. On the leg, on the front of your leg, you have three main muscles. The arms are almost a little bit more complicated. At the front of your leg, so if you hear the word anterior, it's at the front of something. If you hear the word posterior, think of your posterior, like your bottom, like your derriere, like your posterior. It's behind you, okay? So think of anterior as being opposite to your posterior. So your tibialis anterior is at the front of it's your shin, muscle that runs along your shin, basically, behind your shin bone. It stabilizes the ankle and the foot and allows the toes to be lifted off the ground. That's what your tibialis anterior does. On the back of your leg, you've got that big bulk of your calf muscle, and that's called your gastrocnemius, one of the muscles that make up the calf. It flexes the leg to the knee and flexes the foot. And the soleus kind of runs just behind the Achilles tendon, which is called the soleus, and this makes the calf of the leg with the gastrocnemius and helps flex the foot. And then underneath the foot, on the underside of the foot, you've got your abductor hallucis, which allows the big toe to move away from the other toes. The flexor hallucis brevis, and this allows the extension of your actual big toe. The abductor that was a spelling mistake. The abductor digitalis, which flexes and moves the little toe. The quadratus plantae, so plant, think plant is the base of your foot, the sole of your foot, you're planted on the ground. The base of the foot is called the quadratus plantae, and this helps with the flexing of the toes except the big toe. And the flexus digitorum brevis helps to raise the foot towards the stomach, so it lifts the foot up. Okay, that flexor digitoris brevis. You'll be needing to read through this quite a bit. Okay. So let's go over the pH. The skin and the nails sit around 4.5 to 5.5 on the pH scale. So the pH is a measurement of acidity or alkalinity of an object or a solution. If you have a fish tank, you have to regularly test the pH. If you do chemical peels, you're working to completely disrupt the pH of the skin. It's really interesting. So it's important to know about pH because you'll be using products in manicures and pedicures which temporarily disrupt the pH scale of the skin and the nails. The products that you guys are going to be using within your services. You'll have nail polish remover, which removes polish from your client's nails, cuticle remover, which is usually an acid or alkaline based product to actually dissolve dead skin cells and remove skin from the nail plate area. A moisturizer softens, nourishes and hydrates the skin. Soaking products, so it could be a soaking salt solution, it could be a oil that you're putting into your soak, it could be a powder, be magnesium salts, it could be like a foaming gel nail cleanser that you're using and it kind of bubbles. Cuticle oils or creams, so these nourish and hydrate the cuticle to make it soft. And exfoliants, and these remove dead skin cells from the hands or the feet to encourage new cell growth. So we saw when I did exfoliation of one arm to the other, you could actually see the difference in color initially, and that was from the removal of dead skin cells, but also removal of any surface melanin that might have been there. So it does remove a little bit of a suntan. If your client does have a spray tan on, they may not want to be exfoliated if it's for a special occasion, because you're going to end up taking their tan off with their exfoliator. But if it's like they've already had their special occasion, they're just getting their nails redone, they might actually like you to scrub it off for them as much as you can. But consult that with your clients, let them know that you're going to be doing an exfoliation, which may remove tan if they've got tan on, and is that okay? So you're also going to be using a whole array of nail polishes. You're going to be using a base coat and a top coat. Your base coat might be a nail strengthener. So the one that I quite like to use, again, is by Essie. It's called Grow Stronger. I have nails like paper, and having pulling acrylics off and having little nail drill marks on my nails doesn't really help because they literally are like paper. So I always use a nail strengthener. I have one coat every day. I'll take it off at the end of the week and start again. You can get quick dry products, so that can either be in like a little dropper, like my cuticle oil is, or it can be in a spray. There's lots of different application motions, ways that it's applied to the nails, and you just wait a minute to 2 minutes before applying it to the client's nails, otherwise it can cause bubbling. Masks, these help nourish and hydrate the skin. And then nail polish thinners. So these are a product that if your polish gets a little bit on the thick side, you can add this to your products, your nail polishes, just a couple of drops into, and it will thin out your nail polish to make them usable again. You can get nail hardeners. So nail hardener or nail strengthener, whatever you want to call it. These help to strengthen weak nails, allowing nail growth, and these need to be used with care as they can cause the nail to become brittle if they are overused. That's if you're using a nail hardener. I don't use a nail hardener. I've got the Grow Stronger. It's a little bit, it's protein-based, so it's a little bit different. And then we have massage mediums. These soften the skin and provide a slip for massage. You can, if you're an aromatherapist or you like to make up your own oils and things like that, you can actually make your own massage products. If you wanted to, make your own blend of oils. Or you can use just what's in your kits. It's entirely up to you. So we've already run through how we do a consultation. So just to confirm, you must always confirm what treatment you're doing with your client. The amount of times I've had clients in the past that have booked in at main reception and they've come in, oh, I'm here for my nails. I'm like, oh, okay, great, brilliant. So we're doing a manicure today. And they're like, oh no, I just want shellac. Or, oh, can you take my nails off? And it hasn't been booked in correctly because there's been a lack of communication. All right, so make sure you know what treatment it is you're supposed to be doing, because what's actually booked in sometimes isn't what the client actually wants. Okay? A bit like when you go to the hairdresser and they go, oh, you know, oh, so you're here for a colour today, and you're like, actually, no, I'm here for a full head of foils. And they're like, oh, okay. You know, communication is key to a good relationship and all that jazz. Identify any areas that may require special treatment. You know, have they got arthritis? Do you need to just be a little bit wary about that? Do they have a cut and abrasion? You know, do they have some non-intact skin that's got a band-aid on it you need to be a bit aware of? Have they had a broken finger that's still healing? Have they recently had an operation that's still healing and you just need to not massage that finger or something? And make sure that there's no contraindications. Assess the nails. Choose the shape that you're going to be doing the nails. So on and so forth. So let's have a little look at nail types and their characteristics. A normal nail will look pink in colour, feel strong to the touch, but flexible enough to withstand breakage, has a smooth surface with no general visible imperfections, has no flakes, splits, or ridges. That is a normal natural nail. A weak nail, me, I have weak nails, will feel soft and very flexible. Nails can peel and break a lot. They're hard to grow, and quite often they'll flake off in layers. Like they'll actually split, keratinites will split in layers and they'll actually get flaking off of their nail plate, which is obviously not ideal. A dry nail plate will have pronounced ridges, may have white spots or a dull appearance, may feel slightly rough to touch, may have peeling, flaking or splitting, often have ridges, but a brittle nail will often have ridges. It will be really hard and inflexible. Think of, I don't know, if you've ever done your nana's toes or something like that. Usually they're quite brittle through age or blood pressure medication and things like that. But a brittle nail is hard and flexible, and when they break, they often snap and can snap quite low and be quite painful. Okay. And here we have some different shapes. We've got round, oval, squoval, square, and pointed. So a square, typical square nail has a very straight sides and a very blunt end. A squoval, you're actually bringing those sides in ever so slightly and rounding those little corners off a little bit, but it's still got a nice straight end to it. Okay. And then a round shape, that's more so probably what I have, where my fingers just like look like little Smarties, where it's just nicely rounded. It doesn't have to be short nail to be round. You can get longer nails that are round along the end, and that's totally fine. And then we've got the pointed nail, so that's when they come to a really, really large point. And then we have oval as well. So we need to take the following things into account: our client's preference, the client's natural nail shape, the length of the client's nail, and their lifestyle occupation as well. And do they wear contact lenses is the other one. Developing the treatment plan. So a treatment plan is an outline of the service that's going to be performed. You need to explain this to your client, the outcomes, and what you need to be doing within the treatment, okay? And what the client needs to understand for home care and things like that as well. That's all part of the treatment plan. There are things to do with, there is a section on your form about adverse effects. So adverse effects, could it be anything like redness, swelling, general skin irritation, or pain or itching? So they might have a sensitivity or an allergy to a product. So what do you do in that case? You remove the product immediately if it's an adverse effect to cause occurrence during the treatment, and you might need to send them to a medical practitioner. Okay, so nice and simple. And if they have had an adverse effect, you need to make sure you follow up with them a few days later. So we've already gone through contraindications. We went through that earlier, but have a read through the contraindications manicure pedicure, because it does go through into a little bit more detail here. We've also got your nail diseases and disorders, which is also really exciting. So we're going to have a little look at that. So these are all things that are contraindications, things that you're going to come across. And it's lovely. Let's play download. So we can have a few things that you will notice, and these that you'll get to see with clients, and that is something called Bowes lines. These are single horizontal ridges caused by severe short-term illness, such as a heart attack, measles, etc. I know that when I had glandular fever as a teenager, and I ended up with massive indentations in my nails just because my health was that dramatically affected. It's quite amazing what we can actually see on our clients' nails and how that represents their internal health. So you can actually treat these people with Bowes lines. It's no major drama, but you might need to send them to a medical practitioner if there's any signs of infection or anything like that, but just gently buffing over with a 3-way buffer should help smooth it as much as possible. You can do a gel or acrylic overlay to create a smooth surface and then polish over the top of that if you feel the need. Some people will present to you with bruised nails, so we can see there in the images we do have examples of bruised nails. The first image is more like someone may have had a splinter, for instance, and have a bit of an injury that's growing out. You just need to be aware that their nail plate might fall off. So we need to, we just need to make sure it's not painful for the client, that there isn't any current bleeding, and you can do a gentle manicure, but I would also refer them to a GP as well afterwards. Bunions. So as I was saying earlier about treating clients with arthritis in their joints, bunions is something we need to be aware of as well.
So it's a projection of the medial metatarsal and phalanges of the big toe, causing the big toe to turn towards others. It's caused by joint weaknesses and ill-fitting shoes, often when they were younger. Back in the day when we used to wear high heels all the time. You may wear high heels all the time. I'm too old for wearing high heels all the time. I've got another 2 toddlers and I just can't walk in heels to save my life. And I've got really flat feet, but anyway, that's another story. So bunions, they can be a proper pest, especially if you are wearing a heel wearer or a ballroom dancer, or you used to be a ballerina, and all that kind of thing. You can still do a normal pedicure, but you just have to be really careful in the area of the bunion because it can be quite tender. You need to know it's not contagious. You don't need to worry about it. People can have surgery to have the bone shaved, but it's a pretty horrific treatment. And people have to be off their feet for quite a while. People can end up with chilblains, which is an itchy, sore, tingly red area resulting in broken skin caused by prolonged exposure to cold and poor circulation. So the area may be infectious, so should be covered. It's not contagious, but gentle massage in the area may improve circulation. I know up here in Cairns, it's probably not something we have to worry about in here, but when I was over in the UK, it was certainly something that used to present to me more often than I'd like to admit. Then we have this awesome thing, which is really gross, which is called verrucas. Warts, okay, plantar warts. So you can see they usually have little black dots, which is the blood supply. They can grow underneath nails, around the cuticle area, on the base of the foot, between the toes. It's a viral infection which causes raised lumps of horny tissue, so almost looks like a little cauliflower, like a wart, basically. Warts are caused by the human papillomavirus. Do not manicure. Do not do a pedicure either. Refer them to a podiatrist or GP. It is contagious. We cannot treat anyone with warts or verrucas. And then we've got the next one is plantar warts. So plantar meaning it's on the plant underneath of your foot, because you have that plant into the ground. And you can see examples of this again. It has a blood supply. You can see those dark dots. It's pretty easy to notice these things. When you're doing a pedicure, you literally have to look at the soles of the feet and make sure that they don't have any. If your client has a plantar wart, they cannot be a model for you. I have a plantar wart. I've had it for about 6 years and the damn thing will not go away. It's never grown. It's just stayed as it is. And I just cover it when I go and have a pedicure, and they just don't file that area because I don't want to pass it on to anyone, but I've had it frozen off about 4 times and stupid thing still keeps coming back and I don't know why. Anyway, but it is a contagious condition. You cannot do a pedicure if someone has a plantar wart. Corns and calluses. So these are growths of, they're nodules of hard skin. They're calluses on areas of constant friction or constant pressure. So regular manicure or pedicure and exfoliation treatments, you can refer to a podiatrist who will literally shave them off for you. But you can treat these and they're fine. Some people will present to you with varying different levels of dermatitis. If it's infected, broken, and inflamed and swollen, you can't treat them. If they just tell you they have dermatitis, but it's not a flare-up, then you'll find to treat, but I would always use a non-fragrance product. And then people with diabetes. So people with diabetes have an inability to produce insulin from the pancreas. Lots of people are diabetic, really, really common, and it's more important for these people to have pedicures and manicures and things like that because they need to look after themselves. So because they do have issues with healing and they have issues with circulation in the extremities and the sensation of heat and cold, we need to be really aware of how hot our pedicure water is and our manicure water is, making sure that we're being quite gentle on the nail plate when we are treating and pushing back cuticles. Ulcers and gangrene are a regular concern for diabetics, and we need to be really aware of that. So perform the treatment with care, check heat levels, so no sharpness or implements to be used. Any broken skin, they need to be not treated, but generally speaking, diabetics are fine as long as they've got it under control and that they're healthy. Some people have eczema on the nail, and this can affect the eponychium, the nail plate and the nail bed, causing pitting. It almost looks a bit like Bose lines, but a little bit more severe than that. It is rare, but you can't manicure or pedicure because the eczema on the nail plate can actually be quite flaky. Some people have eggshell nails, and that's the nail is very thin and abnormally flexible. It curves at the free edge and the nail plate can separate from the nail bed. And this is called by chronic illness of systemic or nervous origin. So if someone's really, really stressed out, their nails can actually start to lift off their nail plates. A gentle manicure can help. Even applying some gel polish might just be an extra little layer for them. Even if it's just a clear, like a base coat and a top coat. That way they don't have to have it maintained. That's quite a nice thing for them to do. Then we've also got hangnails. So usually caused by minor injury and constant irritation through biting. Hangnails can actually just pop up at any time, mainly through friction and life and wear and tear and dry fingers. A hot oil manicure would be quite nice, and that's where you actually warm oil up, even like olive oil or something. And you can actually, or safflower oil, or apricot kernel oil, or sweet almond oil, macadamia nut oil, as long as they're not allergic to nuts, actually warm the oil up, put it in a manicure bowl, and actually submerge their hands in oil, and then massage that oil into their fingers. And even you can even do a paraffin wax treatment after that as well. So gentle manicure with emphasis on cuticle work and a really good home care routine as well, making sure that they are applying cuticle oil before bed, as well as hand creams. And then we've got heel fissures as well. So I'm feeling my phone might ring in a minute. I'll have to answer it. Heel fissures, so the description and cause: dry skin buildup from calluses, deep cracks. You can usually give these a good filing over with a good pedicure rasp, smooth them, but you must be careful not to cause any bleeding, but you need to be using a really good heel balm. Healthy hoof is a really good one, as in like a horse's hoof. It's called healthy hoof balm. Putting that on the heels every day, selling that to your client as a retail treatment, upgrading your treatment in the salon as well to include this product would be really good. We do have things called spoon nails, which we can see from there. We just have to be careful manicuring them. Leukemia, so white spots, small white spots. People used to say that it was to do with the lack of calcium. Nothing to do with that. Quite often it's caused by knocking and banging the nails, by injury of some kind. That's usually how they've appeared. The white area grows out. You're not usually going to be able to remove it with a three-way buffer or anything like that. So surface dryness can be gently buffed away. Do a normal manicure, cover it with nail polish, make sure they're using cuticle oil as home care. Onychotrophia. So trophia is basically the wasting away of the nail. That's when people's nails actually disappear. So you can manicure them gently if the condition is not severe, but quite often you won't be able to put an actual polish on because there's not really much of the nail plate there. Onychohexis, so this is an overgrowth of the nail plate, thickness rather than in length, usually caused by an internal disturbance such as local infection. Do not manicure or pedicure. This can be contagious. You don't know what it is. You don't know what's going on underneath there. Okay, you need to send them to a GP. Someone presented with those kind of toenails, they'll be like, no, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, we can't do your treatment today. There's something going on under your nail plate and I really think you should go and get it checked out. I'm more than happy once you have medical clearance to come in and we will continue with your treatment, but the condition must be healed up. And they'll be like, oh, but I've had it for years. And I'm like, you really need to have got it sorted. You really need to get this addressed. I'm really sorry, but We have to protect the health and hygiene of our staff and other clients and your health as well. And I wouldn't want to do anything that would injure you as one of my clients. I always put it back on them. Go, look, I have a responsibility to look after you. And if I see an issue, I need to tell you about it. And I would really like you to come back once this is healed. And I'll be more than happy to give you a treatment then. And I'm like, okay. Onychia. So this is inflammation of the nail matrix accompanied by pus formation. Contagious, don't treat it, okay? And then we've got ingrown nails, and this can actually end up infected. So if someone's got an ingrown toenail, you can't treat them, okay? We're not podiatrists. Onycholysis, so that's lifting of the nail plate off of the nail bed. It's not contagious, but the nail needs to be shortened to stop it from catching. I've actually got that happening on my little nail at the moment, and that's from my nail plate being so thin from removal of acrylic nails. And that's just, it'll get over it. It'll be fine. Give it a couple of months as it grows out and my nails will be fine again. I just try and keep a nail strengthener on there and just keep, that's why my nails are super short at the moment.
Can I ask you a question? My mother-in-law, so because we're in lockdown, the only way I can do anybody is when they're looking after my son when he goes for his nap, because I'm working from home. Now my mother-in-law has that on her finger because she had an infection for years because she would type on other people's keyboards. Now it's not infected anymore, but it's because she kept leaving it longer, it never reattached properly. So if I was to do her manicure, could I just maybe not do that finger? Or
you should be, if there's no, honestly, if there's no infection present.
Yeah, there's not.
It's fine.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, totally fine. Absolutely. Yeah, no worries whatsoever. But if she had these kind of fingers, no, sorry, she can't be involved until it's healed.
It doesn't.
Good. So fungal nail infections, otherwise as known as tinea. We can't treat it. It can be yellowy, it can be green under the nail, it can be completely shredded flaking of the nail. The nail can even turn black. The nail can go quite brittle. Sometimes it has a smell to it. We can't treat these people. They need to go and get that sorted out first. Bitten nails actually have their own nails, their own name. So onychophagi is actually the name of someone who bites their nails, and it's when you have a very distorted, raggy looking skin and nail bed. Nail bed can be quite exposed and quite raw. They need to have regular manicures. They need to stop biting their nails, and we need to get them in weekly to work with them to be able to keep the skin really nourished to get their nails to some length. And they may not reattach completely to the nail plate, but all we can do is give it a go and offer them the support. There's a couple of other things there. Onychorrhexis, so you can see flaking there, split or brittle nails caused by injury to the finger or exposure to harsh chemicals. Hot oil manicures will improve the condition. Home care advice needs to be given. Okay, nice and easy. Paronychia. So this is an infectious and inflammatory condition of the nail fold. So areas around the nail can actually get infected. Usually it's from overworking the cuticle area. So in this case, it's contagious. There is infection present. You can see in that last picture there, there's a green underneath, a yellowy color. That's pus underneath the side of the nail. Can coincide with an ingrown toenail or an ingrown fingernail. Things to be really, really aware of. So it's considered contagious, and we avoid treating these nails at all costs. Psoriasis can present differently in lots of different people. We don't work on the area, refer the client to the medical practitioner. Those are some extreme examples of the skin disease. appears as silvery scales that build up to form a plaque on the skin, which when removed can leave a really red raw patch of skin. Yeah, non-contagious, but they need to be under the guise of a medical practitioner. Then we've got pterygium. So this is an abnormal winged-like growth of skin on the nail plate. The skin is slowly stretched and dragged along the nail bed, most commonly caused by severe trauma such as warts, burns, and blood circulation disorders. We just need to not attempt to remove the wing, as it's possible that there is no nail plate growth underneath it. Pterygium should not be used to describe the cuticle because it's not living tissue. It's not contagious, but we just need to try and work around it and just gently do the cuticle that we can get to. We would treat that as 2 separate nail plates. Okay, don't try and take this bit off because quite often it's joined to the finger underneath it, and it is actually 2 separate nail plates. It's not just growing over the top. It has a blood supply. You can't cut it off. I actually had a friend who went to Bali that had this condition, and the lady who did her nails in Bali cut it off. And there was blood everywhere. And it was horrendous. She was traumatized and she didn't go back. And anyway, that was another story. Yes, so ridges, furrows, and corrugations. So multiple ridges, it can be caused by incorrect removal of nail enhancements, like what I've got. Pregnancy, excessive dieting, lapses in health, illness, all sorts of things, chemotherapy, radiation therapy, some severe medication changes, diabetic medication. It can also be caused by blood pressure medication as well. You can still treat the nails, they're non-contagious, but you just need to be gentle. Okay, and you can gently smooth with a buffing block, like a little buffing block if you wanted to, or a 3-way buffer, but just don't go too crazy because you don't want to thin the nail out too much. Tinea pedis, otherwise known as athlete's foot. So there's some severe cases there. It can have a smell to it. Do not touch it. It's highly contagious. Seek medical advice. It's a fungal infection. It's not nice. Okay, it's easily healed, but the your clients need to go and get that seen too. And then we've got chilblains. So you can get chilblains on the hands, you can get chilblains on the feet. Mainly it's from not being warm enough, essentially, caused by poor blood circulation. And it's aggravated in cold weather. So you can gently massage, gently manicure, but if there's any open wounds, don't obviously treat it. Some nails can appear discolored due to exposure to chemicals, including dyes and nicotine, some medications, bacterial infections, systemic disorders, and also nail polish. Like some nail polishes, people don't use a base coat, and don't use a good base coat, and like the red, for instance, bleed through whatever colour they've had on and actually stain the nails. Okay. You might just need to go over with a 3-way buffer and paint them accordingly. So that is the end of that little slide. Very nice and easy. So for those of you who are still with me, I am just going to, I've just got to make a really quick phone call. It's quite urgent. So I'm just going to disappear for a moment and I'll be back. So you can read through, if you want to open up in your lecture slides, your contraindications to a manicure and pedicure. I'm going to open it. If it lets me open it, it takes too long to load. Quicker to download it. So I'm going to let you open this on your own computer. So it's in your resources. Contraindications, that's the front page of it. And you can have a little read. You can have a little read through that. It's 19 slides. I'm going to leave that to you. I'm just going to mute myself and disappear off screen for a moment. I just need to make this quick call. I think it's my children. And I'll be back in just a moment. Does anybody have any questions before I disappear? No? Sorry, guys. Back again. Okay, beautiful. So have we all had a little look through that little contraindications list? It should all sort of make sense as to what was on that little flyer, the treatment plan. Okay, so then we're going to go through your exam images. So I'm just going to show you this. So this is something that you need to, I'd say, print out and stick to your fridge, your bathroom mirror, bedroom wall, somewhere where you can see. Okay. I'll take you through it. So we have images here that you can actually label yourself, which I quite like. You can draw where everything is. And we have anatomy of all the information that you need to really nut into your head on a regular basis is all here. So you've got images of your bones, where they are, the tarsus, metatarsals, phalanges, the calcaneus, talus, articulating surface for tibia and fibula. Okay, cluster. All these bones actually have individual names, but you don't need to know them. Okay, so we just clustered it to keep it nice and simple for manicure and pedicure. If you're doing diploma, you get to know them in a little bit more detail. If you are doing body massage, you have to know, or remedial massage or reflexology, you have to know them in a lot more detail than this, but thankfully you're just doing manicure and pedicure. Anyway, then we've got the bones of the hand and the forearm. And we also have images here where we can see exactly where the extensors, the flexors, the pronators, the foot muscles, the tibia anterior, the gastrocnemius being our calf muscle, the soleus that sits behind the Achilles tendon. Achilles tendon is that great big white thing just there, at the bottom part of the leg. So if you wanted to, you could print these out and stick them up somewhere in your house, which is nice and easy. And that's it. That's all that's there. All right, nice and simple. We've then got your PowerPoint work in a nail services framework. So we're going to have a little look at this here. Okay, so work in a nail services framework. So this is actually 48 pages. So this is actually part of your homework that you will have to perform and read through in your own time. But I'm going to go through. So infection control procedures is the main thing that it's going through in the beginning, which is really important. So infection, I've already talked a little bit about keeping things separate and hygiene practices and how we're checking for contraindications and making sure everything that we do is really clean and functional and we're not cross-contaminating, we're not using different things on different people, and making sure the nail plate is clean before we apply a product, because if the nail plate isn't clean, we're then putting all that bacteria off the nail plate into our nail polish bottle. Don't ever buy secondhand nail polishes. Gross. Okay. So infections can be spread between the client and the operator and from client to client if the instruments used have not been thoroughly cleaned. So remember what I was saying about handles on nail tools, make sure you submerge everything in your hospital grade disinfectant, super important, and soak it for the certain amount of time. It could be 20 minutes, could be 30 minutes, could be 45 minutes, could be an hour, depends on the manufacturer's instructions on the back of the product that it is that you're actually using. Each state and territory has its own health and hygiene legislation, so it's really important you look this up because you're all over Australia, you're all working in different places. I'm up here in Cairns, up here in northern Queensland, and they do things differently to how they would do when I was working down in New South Wales. Everywhere's just so different, okay? But as long as we're working cleanly and efficiently, and remember the state and territory guidelines is the bare minimum. Okay, if you want to use an autoclave, but you don't have to, go and get yourself an autoclave. It's up to you. So it's really useful to washing the hands and feet. So the hands and feet of the client should be cleaned and dried with a one-use towel before the manicure and the pedicure. The nail technician should also thoroughly wash their hands. So remember, we always make sure our clients wash our hands, make sure they're using a single use. But they can use a towel that you can wash, But I usually have next to my basin where my clients wash their hands, I actually have face washers because they're small and they're perfectly fine for drying my clients' hands, rather than a great big hand towel per person, or using paper towels, which again goes into landfill, they're not going to break down. Well, they will eventually. So I just buy bundles of face washers from Kmart and I roll them up into a nice little sausage, okay, which looks quite nice, for instance. So I'd roll them up so they look nice and neat like this, and I'd sit that next to, and I only have one, and I sit that next to my sink with my antibacterial hand soap. I always buy an antibacterial hand soap. You can get nice smelling ones now. They're not just, you know, smell like Dettol or anything like that. You can now buy nice antibacterial hand soaps. I always use one. I just get it from the supermarket. It doesn't have to be anything fantastic. It's antibacterial, washes their hands. And I have a printout of how to correctly wash the hands on the mirror or whatever, or next to the basin, and one of these. And then I have a little basket that's lined with a bin liner, because otherwise I think it's gross, as good practice, underneath the sink or to the side, so that they can wash their hands, dry their hands, and then pop their single-use face washer that they've dried their hands on and put it in the bin underneath. Okay, so the importance of thorough hand washing cannot be overstressed, as it's the most likely means of preventing infection after cleansing instruments. So any instrument or part of an instrument used on a client for a nail service should be cleaned in with detergent and warm water, dried, thermally disinfected, and using steam before being used on another client. Single-use instruments are recommended and should be discarded after each client use. So when we're using chemical disinfectants, these should only be used for items for which thermal disinfection sterilization are not suitable. For example, items that are unable to be immersed in water or unable to withstand high pressure sterilization. It's appropriate to use chemical disinfectant when equipment or the environment is contaminated with blood or other body substances and cannot be thermally disinfected. Detergent is sufficient for cleaning of perspiration, for example. Due to the overuse and misuse of chemical disinfectant, many microorganisms have become or are becoming resistant to them. And for this reason, the routine use of disinfectants is not recommended. Disinfectants can easily become contaminated and are the potential source of infection if we're not careful. Okay. They do say detergent or disinfectant solutions should not be mixed because they may react with each other. So you don't put one brand of disinfectant with another brand of disinfectant, just keep it as the same one. Okay. Because some, when you mix them together, can end up having a chemical reaction and produce chlorine. Okay. Sorry, those producing chlorine must be made up freshly. Okay, so you can actually end up harming your tools, harming the people, harming your clients, harming yourself if you mix chemicals together. Same when you're washing your floors and you're putting things in your mop bucket, don't start mixing chemicals together because you can end up basically gassing yourself and causing issues. Operators should only use disinfectants provided by the ARTG, the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods Act, and for the approved purpose for the time specified by the manufacturer. So things that I've already gone through already. You need to make sure that your premises is well ventilated. You use drop-on or brush-on products. Try to avoid aerosol products because you're going to breathe them in. Wear gloves when decanting or mixing products such as chemicals. Label all solutions that you're going to be decanting. So remember I said if you're going to be having a hospital grade of disinfectant detergent in a spray bottle for your surfaces, make sure it's labeled so other people know what it is and you know what it is as well. Don't eat, drink or smoke in any areas that you are going to be working. Really, really important. And have a specific staff room for breaks. After handling chemicals, make sure you wash your hands before consuming food or drink, because chemicals reside on the hands and they'll contaminate your food. Have you ever got hand cream on a sandwich? It's not nice. Okay. Label all chemical containers, remove waste regularly, use a lined bin. Make sure that you've got your material safety data sheets relating to the safe handling, storage and first aid requirements for chemical products. Okay, so for instance, all your products that you're going to be using, you need to Google, search in your search engine, your chosen search engine, not just Google, there are others, whatever you use, for copies of MSDSs, so which are your material safety data sheets for your Sani Prep or your nail polish remover or your Pine Cream or whatever it is that you're going to be using. Okay. So we know that the skin is made up of 3 layers. It's the largest organ of the body. It's the part of the body that's most visible and therefore contributes to the development of a person's self-esteem and well-being. The care, maintenance and enhancement of the skin, as well as the hair and the nails, is the central function of the beauty industry. Skin works as a vital organ overall, okay? It's part of the integumentary system of the body. And this system includes the skin, the nerves, the glands within it, the hair and the follicles. So it's made up of 3 layers. The epidermis is the outermost layer, provides a physical barrier between the inside and the outside of the body. It's the bit that we see. The dermis is deeper, contains the glands, the hair follicles, all the working parts of your skin. Your blood capillaries, your nerves, your sweat glands, sweat ducts, all that kind of thing. The hypodermis, or the subcutaneous layer, is made up of mainly of adipose tissues. Adipose tissue is fat cells, basically. It's the spongy bit of your skin. It's the entry point for arteries and veins that support the dermis. The main function of the hypodermis is to protect the body through the cushioning layer that also plays a role in hormone activity as well. So these layers of the skin help it perform its various functions. So there is a question about this in your quiz. Your skin is there for protection. Protects you from abrasion, loss of water, keeps the blood supply away from the surface where bacteria can enter. Excretion, the glands of the skin allow the body to lose heat and water where needed and essential salts and oils. They also allow the loss of certain salts and wastes from the body. Then we have sensation. There are an abundance of nerve cells sitting underneath the surface of the skin. And these allow for us to detect changes in our environment, okay? And give information about pain, temperature, touch, and pressure. Immunity. The epidermis contains cells that fight infection when there's damage to the skin. The Langerhans cells. Then we have vitamin D synthesis. Ultraviolet light from the sun activates the production of vitamin D. And then we have body temperature regulation. The skin reacts to stimuli received either by retaining heat or allowing it to leave the body. It maintains an even internal body temperature at all times to protect the inner organs. Identify and describe the structure. Okay, so nails are tightly packed, hard cells of the epidermis of the skin. They replace the epidermis on the tips of the fingers and the toes, but are continuous with it so that bacteria and microorganisms cannot enter the body. Healthy nails are shiny and translucent and pink due to the blood capillaries underneath, and the surface of them is not smooth but has tiny longitudinal ridges in them. Okay, so they're kind of the underneath of your actual nail plate. Imagine your nail plate. Underneath of it is actually sort of etched like this so that it can hold on. So your nail plate can hold on to the nail bed. It's just a surface that's smooth, which is really, I find that really interesting. The main function of the nail is to protect the end of the digits, the fingers and the toes. Okay. And the technical term for the natural nail is the onyx. Other functions of the nails include grasping and manipulating objects, increasing sensitivity to feel and touch, acting as defense tools, and enhancing appearance as well. As a nail technician, you can offer a variety of services to enhance the appearance of the nails. People are often concerned with the appearance of their nails and seek ways to improve them. Okay. There are many variations of shapes of the nails, including length, width, cross and length, curvature, thickness, strength, and stability. Clients are often unhappy about their natural nail shape and length. And though their nails may be healthy and normal, people seek ways of correcting things they don't like about themselves because of what they see as being a fault. Sometimes the motivation for seeking nail services is to be fashionable or to engage in some pampering. So we've already gone through in that other image what each section was. Like we've got the free edge, the nail plate, the nail groove, the lunula, which was the moon, so on and so forth. And it goes through this in a lot more detail within this slide. So you can have a read of this in your own time. The cuticle, also how to pronounce things as well. Okay. This has 48 pages, which I'm going to let you read through in your own time as part of your homework. Okay, so we've gone through the first 11 pages of this, and the rest of this is going to be as homework. So I'm going to come out of this now. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. Okay, so coming to the end of our class, which is really exciting. So what we're going to do is I'm going to remind you of your homework tasks. So you need to make sure that you do 2 manicures using red polish, one being a spa manicure, one being a mini manicure, like a short mini manicure, which is basically a repolish. Watch all the videos in your resources on how to paint nails, how to troubleshoot, and all that kind of thing. It's going to help you dramatically. Okay. Have a go at your first attempt of your assessment quiz, your assessment questions, 16 questions. I want that to be submitted by midnight Sunday, please, so I can get those marked before Tuesday. That would be great. And I also would like you to upload your homework task, your first 2 manicures into Canvas. And you can write it as client 1 and write out a consultation form for that, what it is that you're doing. Read through these PowerPoints, okay? And that's what all of your homework tasks are. Everything is going to be written in the discussions page. So I'm going to write, like I've added some information in there last night, and I'm going to bulk that out. This session has been recorded, so I'm going to upload that to YouTube. That takes a little while, so it'll probably get done by tomorrow morning. And I'll post the link onto the discussions page for those who missed today or had to leave early or want to rewatch what we've talked about today in our Zoom session. But your afternoon is free. It's up to you what you do with it, whether you want to make a crack on and today's your study day, start having a little read through all of your resources, finish off that PowerPoint, because that's got lots of information in there for you, which and make a start on your quiz. Okay, beautiful. Does anybody have any questions at all?
Tamsin, I was just wondering, when we send photos of our homework with the manicure, with the spa one, do we send a video with the massaging, or?
If you can get a video of your massage, that would be amazing, because that makes it quite realistic for me to be able to assess you and guide you, because I can't see you doing a massage. You know, it's like fair enough if you're all on Zoom and you're all doing massages, but my eyes are in like 7 different places at the same time. But if I've actually got your massage to actually watch, then that's absolutely brilliant. So if we can record the massage.
Yeah, because I know what I do wrong on the massage when I send it to you, and then
yeah, and that way I can guide you. You know, I can say, oh, you just need to do a little bit more like this and that kind of thing. yeah, your before photos, your during photos, and your after photos will be good for that as well. And yeah, if you can do a little video of the massage, if you're doing in your spa manicures, that would be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that sounds good. Just writing everyone's down. Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Beautiful. So does anybody have any other questions before we sign off today? No, you're all good. Perfect. I'm going to let you go. It's exciting.
Thank you.
That's all right. And if anyone does have any other questions, feel free to just email those through. That's totally fine. Or you can even reply to the discussions topic that I've written up. You can even just do a reply to that, and I get to see that too if you have any questions. Okay, beautiful. Well, I'll see you next week. See you later. Thank you.